Hi everyone, Chris here from IELTS Advantage with another success story. Today we have Ding, who is going to share his success with you guys so that you can learn from him. So Ding, let's start by introducing yourself to everybody.
Hi everyone, I'm Dean from Chris's class, and I'm recently got the score I really wanted. I've been working that for a very long time, so fortunately, with the help from the group, with the help from the teachers, I'm really happy I got it finally.
Excellent, excellent. And what scores did you get?
Uh, overall 7.5, 8 for listening, 8.5 for reading, 7 for writing, 7 for speaking. And
Excellent.
I took the course for writing uh, advanced, so yeah.
And how many times did you do the test before you started working with us?
Uh, Probably 10 times. I
Wow.
started this one from 2018 October, and I decided to try to apply for the immigration group in another country. So I have to get a relatively high IELTS test score, and I will struggle for my reading and speaking part because I'm a native Chinese citizen, and I don't have a very strong education background regarding this English education. So it took me a very long time to try to get there. But
Mhm.
because of the overall situation here, I cannot get enough resources or help, which could help me to finally achieve this goal. So I was struggling for over 1 year doing
Mhm.
this process.
And what were your like average scores before you started working with us?
I was my reading and listening are pretty steady. They were around 8,
Hmm.
but my speaking was already have already been 7 2 times. But my writing was always around 6.5, and I actually didn't know what's the obstacle which are stopping me from getting any higher score.
Mm. Yeah, that's often the frustrating thing about IELTS is that many people are stuck at, let's say, a 6.5 for writing, and they want to improve, they want to work hard, but they've no idea why. So it's very difficult to fix something if you don't know what the problem is. So whenever we started working with you, what were the causes? What were the reasons why you were getting 6.5 in writing?
Uh, According to my estimation, actually, I have a very bad control of my overall grammar and vocabulary selection. Uh, to be more specific, I guess the collocations and the mistyping issue. Uh, Actually, I have been listening to podcasts and reading a lot of English articles for quite a long time, but actually, I seldom have many chance to put them into really practical using writing. So I really make a lot of mistakes, and I didn't follow the 100% uh, rule to make sure that there are no mistakes in
Yeah.
my writings.
Good. So let's focus on grammar and vocabulary, as those were your two big weaknesses. So let's start off before you got the score that you needed. Were there anything that you tried that now you look back, you realize that it was the wrong advice or it didn't work for vocabulary?
Well, the first one came up to my mind is the big words. Like someone would recommend to use some fancy and unordinary ones, but obviously that's not ideal for a IELTS test. You have to be 100% sure about what you're writing and know the collocations just to minimize the uncertainties. And the second one, I would say the grammar is the issue. One issue about grammar is the consistency of the plurals and singles, and sometimes the tense issue.
Mhm.
Because even though I know some part of these this grammar using, but when I am actually trying to put it down into sentences, I found it very difficult for me to write it in the right form because I don't have I don't have any advisors from a real native speaker or an English teacher to tell me, oh, you're making a mistake, and this should be in another way, which can be presented. But I don't get any feedback from that. So I was doing some stupid work all by myself. But yeah.
So let's stick with vocabulary. So you were told to use big words and high level vocabulary. That doesn't work because it can often lower your score because you'll make so many mistakes. But if someone was in your position and they wanted to improve their vocabulary, what suggestions would you give them?
Probably just because from my understanding, many IELTS task 2 writings are uh, concerned with real life because I'm taking the general training test. So a lot of writing tasks about topics about real life. So if you have probably a 6,000 words total amount, I believe that's probably okay. And I think it's very hard to describe because for me, even for me today, even to this day, after I finish this test, I still don't know what is the right. I don't know how to say this. It's the right uh, collection of the vocabulary for the IELTS test.
Mm,
You have to you have to feel it for yourself. You have to do the correction service. Then you would know what's your selection, what's the problem with your selection. And once you've been there, you know what is the right way to do. Then you would minimize the selection for yourself, and you can do it very fluently in your test.
mm.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
So feedback was really the key for you.
And also the help with from the dictionary, because as you mentioned in the previous course, I noticed that you have to find the explanation in English, and then when you look in details, you will know the relations and the very uh, reflective things in there, and it will definitely help for your writing and description of certain issues.
Yeah, I'd recommend doing that too, because a lot of people, when they try and vary their vocabulary and they're trying to use synonyms, for example, they will, instead of looking up the meaning of the word, they'll just look up a thesaurus or an online resource. And the two words are synonyms, but they mean completely different things. So if you try and change this word to this word, then you're going to be in trouble. I was correcting an essay last night for a student, and they were trying to change the word competing, and so competing, competition between people, and they changed that to racing. And they got very confused because they said, well, compete and race are synonyms. Like, yes, but they mean completely different things and you can't use them in that context. So my
Mhm.
suggestion was exactly what you said, was look up the meaning of those two words, understand the meaning, and then you will be able to decide in your essay whether to use them or not. And then
Yeah.
the other problem is that many people learn lists of vocabulary. So they're given like an academic word list or a list of band 9 um, uh, words to use in their essay, and they don't fully understand or learn the words in context. Therefore they never know how to use them in real life. So those two problems cause a lot of issues for vocabulary. So that's very, very good advice. And you
Yeah.
talked about collocations as well. How did you improve your use of collocations?
Uh, as I mentioned, I actually tried a lot of time to spend on dictionary, the online dictionary. For example, I recently looked up to the word patient. It has a noun meaning and also ADJ meaning. So for the noun, it means someone got sick, and in the dictionary, it also said like someone who need medical care, who probably went to hospital, receive treatment. Some words like this, they have a very close relationship
Mm.
for these things. And as I mentioned, if you're writing an topic about uh, public service, like the government should build more hospitals in certain areas, you can definitely use this kind of this combination of words to make your sentence arguably more convincing.
Yeah.
Um, and also I would say the accumulation of your daily life is also very important. I actually listen to a lot of podcasts like the Planet Money, the Free Economics. There will be a lot of topics of your daily life. How the economy is affecting us from every aspects. All these kind of small things you could, if you find interest, you could spend, two or 20 or 30 minutes just listen
Mm.
repetitively when you know the certain words, then you will be helpful.
It's another reason why we don't teach vocabulary by teaching people lists of words, is because if you're listening or reading to real sources of English, you're going to hear the words in context. And part of that is hearing the collocations. So if you just see a list of words with no collocations, you'll never learn the collocations. But if you're listening to podcasts or reading the news or reading a book or a magazine or whatever, you will be seeing the words in context and seeing the collocations. And I'd also recommend, when people are learning vocabulary, to look up the collocations of new words to see the common ones. A very good online resources website called Just the Word. I'll get our editors to put it down here, justtheword.com, and they'll give you all of the most common collocations for any word, really, which is very, very useful. So that's good advice as well. So let's move on to grammar. You mentioned that plurals, for example, were a problem with you. Was that the only common or weakness that you had when it came to grammar?
uh, the another mistakes I often make is the tense issue. I
Mhm.
actually, if I'm writing the task 2 or task 1 in a letter, when I describe a thing happened in the past, I usually forgot it. My plurals, I have to follow the same tense from my main sentence. Like I went to the office yesterday, and where I saw Mr. Lee, like something like that. If before I take the course, I would say I went to the office, and I see it, and I meet Mr. Lee. Some small mistakes like that, because I don't train all these. I didn't have many practice on these things, so there will be a lot of mistakes, careless one, but very fatal one, I would say.
And how did you overcome those once we helped you identify what your, two
Yeah.
or three areas of weakness were? How did you overcome those grammatical issues?
At first, I was very nervous about that because uh, against your advice, I should be fully prepared to take the test. I actually booked the test to give myself some pressure. So when
That's the
for
opposite of my.
yeah, yeah, that's the wrong thing. You guys shouldn't do it. You guys should definitely not do it. So so when I find out all these issues, there was about 2 or 3 weeks, just
Mm,
maybe two more weeks left, and I have to do, or no, all I can do is just force myself to write like over 20 or 25 essays all by myself. And once I have write by myself, I spend like like 40 or 15 minutes just check all by myself to
mhm.
just find out all these same mistakes that I have made in the previous times. Once you have been there, you notice that you're, oh, I have made this wrong. I should probably choose another word. I should probably avoid these kind of things. And after repetitive tests, practice, I find that I probably make progress on that
Yeah, that's
because yeah,
a very effective strategy. Becoming an independent learner and fixing your own mistakes when it comes to grammar. So, we have a grammar course and we can show you the rules and explain the grammar to you. But at the end of the day, the student needs to go away and fix their own mistakes, because that is going to lead to to progress. Because if a teacher is doing it for you, constantly saying, okay, you need to, this is a mistake, this is how to fix it, that's okay, and we do that. But you need to combine that and become independent and start to fix your own mistakes, because that is where you're going to see the most progress. So even though you only had 2 or 3 weeks, you probably chose the most effective strategy, and that's why you were successful. And for many students watching, that can sound counterintuitive, because you think, oh, I need a teacher and a teacher should do everything for me. No, a teacher should be doing 10% or 20% for you. The other 80-90%, you need to learn to do it by yourself, because the teacher will not be sitting beside you on test day. You know.
yeah, I totally agree with that. You have
Excellent.
to prepare your own mindset for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even some of the students who we work with, um, we've asked some students to leave the course because they want us to do everything for them, and we say, well, we can do that, but you're not going to pass the test. And there's an expression in English, spoon feeding, that when you spoon feed a child, they will never learn to eat. They have to pick up the spoon themselves and learn how to eat. And what we do is we show the students, this is how you eat, and tell you when you're not eating properly. But we don't spoon feed our students, because it only teaches you how to be spoon fed, not to be an independent learner.
Yeah.
And I know that can be frustrating for some students because they don't like that, but I only do what works. I don't,
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
not,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't do things to make people happy. I only
Yeah.
do things to get them the IELTS results they need. So any
Yeah.
final advice that you would give anybody, if they were in the same position as
Just
you?
yeah. Just shout out to the Chris group, and also one important thing I want to mention very much is you guys should be really serious about the critical thinking if you're from some certain Asian countries,
Mm,
because the ideal generation uh, that uh, that will be a very important fact in your essay writing. Uh, because of some education issues here in China or other countries, you guys probably don't have a chance to actually find the right way to put down your thoughts. But just try to practice by yourself, and if you get it, you will find it very helpful.
yeah, it's one of the reasons why we added the whole critical thinking course. As my wife is from Vietnam, and it's not that there's a right or wrong education system. There are just different education systems, there are different cultures. But one of the things that I noticed was in certain countries, um, critical thinking and making arguments, especially, and arguing your case, which is a lot of essay writing is critical thinking, and a lot of people from different backgrounds, different cultures find it difficult to do that. Same with idea generation. It's often not that the person lacks intelligence or lacks knowledge. It's because they, in their culture, they have not been asked to think about things from many different angles, and many different perspectives. So critical thinking is key often for some students, and for some students they've no problems with grammar, no problems with vocabulary, no problems with writing, but critical thinking is something that they really struggle with. So we've seen a big improvement in scores since we introduced the critical thinking course to the VIP course. So thank you for mentioning that, because it's really
Yeah.
important for a lot of students.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, I guess that's all.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, what are your plans now for the future?
I'll probably apply for the Canada immigration program. So I hopefully if anyone are in Canada now, we'll probably have a chance to talk. You guys can leave my email in your videos. If someone is interested, you can also write to me. So I'm very more than happy to write back to you guys.
Excellent.
Just recommend you to Chris Cost. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sting. And if you need any help in the future during your immigration process or anything like that, feel free to get in touch with us.
Yeah. I'm also happy to meet you guys.
Excellent.
Yeah, online from the internet. Yeah.
Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, Chris here again. Hopefully you enjoyed that success story video. That student was part of our IELTS VIP course. And on that course, we show students exactly where they're going wrong and exactly what to do to get the score that they need. And we give them all the help and support that they need in order to get a 7, 8, or even 9 in their IELTS test. Now, we only work with a really small number of students. Because of the level of help and feedback and support that we give students, we can only work with a very small number of them. But we also have more success stories than any other online or offline course in the world, which has created a huge amount of demand for our course. So we're the only course in the world, I believe, that has a very long waiting list. If you want to join that waiting list, all you have to do is just click here and you'll be able to add your name, add your email address, and then when one of our students becomes successful and leaves the course, the next position can be for you. Hopefully see you in there. Bye-bye.